DPI World Report. Episode 13. Lapland, Finland. Quiet systems, early signals, and what actually holds. Lapland is not a frontier. It is an operating environment. For most of the year, it functions in conditions that many systems elsewhere would treat as exceptional. Cold, darkness, distance, sparse population, and yet it works. This episode is not about extremes. It is about how systems behave when stress is normal. Context. Northern Finland sits at the intersection of climate sensitivity, infrastructure resilience, and indigenous land use. Changes here are often described as early warnings. That framing is partially accurate. What matters more is what has already been built to cope with variability, and what has not. Observation. Layer. What we can see. Temperature records in Lapland show long-term warming trends. These trends are consistent with broader northern latitude observations. Snow cover duration has shortened. Freeze-thaw cycles have become more variable. However, impacts are not uniform. Local hydrology, soil composition, and land management practices create high spatial variation in outcomes. This makes generalization risky. Land use and authority. Much of Lapland overlaps with Sami land. Governance here is layered, negotiated, and slow by design. Infrastructure projects, land use decisions, and monitoring programs operate under shared authority, not unilateral control. This constrains speed. It also constrains error. Where consent is required, assumptions tend to be tested earlier. Implementation. What is actually monitored? Finland maintains relatively strong environmental monitoring compared to many regions at similar latitudes. Road performance, water quality, forest conditions, and energy systems are tracked with consistency. That does not eliminate uncertainty. It does, however, reduce the gap between what is claimed and what can be checked. Claims versus conditions. Claims about northern fragility often overlook something important. Systems here were never designed for stability. They were designed for variance. The question is not whether conditions are changing. They are. The question is whether governance, infrastructure, and monitoring are adapting at the same pace. In Lapland, some are. Others are not yet observable. Veritas note. Where monitoring is continuous, confidence is justified. Where monitoring is sparse, conclusions should be provisional. Resilience is not declared, it is demonstrated, usually quietly. Why this matters? As climate adaptation moves south, Lapland is often cited as a reference case. That is appropriate, with care. What transfers well are monitoring discipline, governance restraint, acceptance of uncertainty. What does not transfer easily are geography, culture, time horizons. Mistaking one for the other creates risk. Closing. Lapland does not offer a warning, it offers a record of systems built to endure variation, and the limits of that endurance. This episode does not conclude. It observes. This is the DPI World Report. What matters is not what adapts fastest, but what continues to work.